When you've had a massive day, you've put time and effort into dinner and the kids refuse to eat it or they just sit there crying, it can really make you feel empty. Today's video, I am sharing how I'm supporting 3 different age groups successfully get through dinner and for it to be an enjoyable part of our nighttime routine. So if this sounds interesting to you, stay tuned, give it a big thumbs up because it really does support our channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe and tap that bell so you get notified when we upload every Monday and Thursday. And let's chat dinner strategies. If this is our first time meeting, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. My name is Becca and I am a mom to 4. I have 2 boys under the age of 2 and 2 older girls who are 4 and 6. And dinner routines are crazy. What made me stop and reflect on how I could help support my kids was the fact that night after night, dinner was becoming very stressful and it was becoming a part of the day that I was getting anxious about, and I was just having these negative emotional reactions, and I wanted to change it. Like it didn't want to be the way of life. The way that I tackled this is I have found strategies that help each of my kids individually, because my kids are not the same person. They're going to have different motivations, different needs, and that is what I'm sharing today, is how I'm supporting my 1-year-old, almost 2-year-old, my 4-year-old, and then my 6-year-old. So I hope there's a strategy in here that you like the sound of and that you could use for your kid. Firstly, let's talk about toddlers. Feeding a toddler dinner is very difficult, and sometimes it feels like you are on a bucking bull, to be honest. And I have found, especially 3rd time round with Phineas, that I needed to find his sweet spot. And his sweet spot for dinner is 5:30. If I leave it any later than 5:30, he is just emotionally dysregulated and dinner is going to be a complete mess. So I try and get dinner for everybody ready around 5:30, even though Michael doesn't get home until maybe 5:45. And that way the kids can start eating gradually. So Finn will start at 5:30, and depending on the dinner that I'm feeding him, he might have a variation of what we are serving, or if it's something that I don't think he's quite ready for, like if we're doing steak and salad and I know that steak isn't going to be successful for him and maybe I can't do the blitzer and the salad is just too much and life is just too much, then we have backup packet food that sits in the fridge and he successfully feeds that to himself. It's that consistency where it has chunks in it, but it's still soft, and that's the strategy for feeding toddlers, is honestly pick your battles. There are some days that I will try something new for him, and there are other days where I just want food to get in. And since Finn has become a big brother, he really craves independence and he wants to feed himself, and it can be rather tricky sometimes because a good portion of food ends up on the floor, but that is something that I'm learning to deal with. The other strategy that I have done for all of the kids, especially if they have just hit their threshold and dinner is just too much for them, is mindlessly eating. For Amira, she loved watching Thomas the Tank Engine. For Zoe, she loved watching Hey Bear, which is a high contrast dancing fruit thing, which Finn also likes watching, but Finn also likes Coco Melon. And so depending on his mood and depending on also what I want to listen to, sometimes we do put the screen on and he just mindlessly eats dinner, because at the end of the day, for him, I just want food in his tummy. My approach for Zoe now that she's 4 years old is drastically different from Finn. For the girls, we don't do screens at all. We might put an audio book on or maybe some music to motivate them, but they don't watch a screen because we're starting to build in them table etiquette and using our manners at the table. And they know that Finn gets a screen because Finn is little and that helps his need. And we tell them that we love them for who they are, and sometimes they are going to get something that their siblings won't get, and that's perfectly fine. For Zoe, her golden ticket to unlock her eating in a timely fashion is this rainbow timer. Zoe just has that competitive spirit that loves to beat something, and for her to beat the timer is motivation unto itself, which is great. If dinner is becoming stressful, she'll even ask for the timer herself, which is great that she can regulate that emotion knowing that she needs that little bit of extra motivation. And 9 times out of 10, 10, she's able to complete dinner all by herself. The other thing I found with Zoe is if she's part of the process of making dinner, she's more likely going to eat it. She is probably the fussier eater out of all of my kids, but in our household we have a rule that we give everything a go and we try it at least once. And this strategy really does work because Zoe used to tell us that she hated capsicum, but every day for Munch and Crunch she would get a slither, one piece of capsicum in her lunchbox, and now she will happily eat 2 or 3. There are 2 foods that Zoe doesn't like, which is tomatoes and avocado, and we only ever give her just a little bit, and we're teaching her the strategy that if she mixes it with something that she loves, it's easier to eat. Obviously, we're not forcing it down her throat, and if it's a genuine roadblock, we pick our fights, but we know that it's really important to offer foods so many times to kids before they really know whether or not they like it or they don't. The other thing that motivates Zoe is having a Slinky apple as a treat after dinner, and this is a game changer for us. I've had the Slinky apple machine in our house for ages and just haven't used it. Recently started volunteering at Tuck Shop and they use it, and I thought to myself, why haven't I bought this out and used it with my kids? Since doing it, it has just changed the game. Zoe loves eating dinner with knowing that she's going to get her Slinky apple at the end. And even recently, the girls have started doing their own Slinky apples with adult supervision, and they just think it's the bee's knees. Then finally, I've got Amira, who's 6 years old, and dinners for her can be quite difficult because she struggles with consistency of food and has a very strong gag reflex, and there are many foods that we've had to adjust in the way that we serve it to help her be able to eat it. She likes the flavor and taste of everything, but sometimes she just physically struggles with chewing and swallowing stuff like steak, mashed potato, anything that's too soft, which I fully understand. For her, we have a couple of things going that either take her mind off what she's having to chew or just motivation in general. We had gotten to a point where Amira would come up to the dinner table and she would just cry and refuse to eat her dinner. Even though I knew that she would enjoy it, she just had a complete roadblock for it. And something that has helped us to encourage her to eat her dinner is that she works towards getting Tuck Shop on a Friday. And she loves this because I volunteer at Tuck Shop on Friday and she loves to come down and see me. And it's just that really sweet big girl bonding moment with her. Ever since implementing this long-term goal, she successfully eats her dinners now. Amira also loves working towards her nightly piece of fruit, whether that be a piece of watermelon, rock melon, or Slinky apple. She's also enjoying doing the slinkying herself, which it's such a really easy, simple solution, and yet my kids think it's absolute gold. I'm having to navigate through her portions because she's having a growth spurt at the moment, and obviously don't want to give her too much so that she gets disappointed when she doesn't finish her dinner, and we encourage our kids to eat until they're full. Amira is generally really good at reaching her goals. Sometimes though, we do have to support her in her ability to chew certain foods, and the way that we go about that is the process of mindlessly eating, or just redirecting so she's not focusing on the fact that it's hard to chew or that she's going to feel sick or something like that. We're trying to take her mind off it because when she's not thinking about it, she naturally is able to eat her dinners. One thing that's really helping is we are using conversation cards from Kmart. These cards are really good because we're getting to know our kids, but the kids are also getting to know us. Amira is definitely at that age where we are becoming more relational because she is able to have that theory of mind that we exist as well. We're not just there to serve her. And her getting to know us as humans has been really delightful because it just makes that bond even deeper. And the other thing that we've recently started with Amira now that she's in grade 1 is a letter of the night, of the dinner, and I'll get her to spell things. So the other day she picked the letter L, I think it was. I ended up having to Google L spelling word lists because I was running out of words. but it's just a great opportunity. She loves to spell. It's not like I'm forcing her to do it. And she will just sit there and spell and eat and chew and swallow, and it makes for a really enjoyable dinner time. One thing to keep in mind is pick your battles. If there is a dinner that you've served and it just has been stressful all around because no one's enjoyed eating it, then I highly recommend not serving it again. There are many times that I have to edit my meal planning because I've thought a dinner would go really well and it just was a complete flop. And I'm not gonna put myself through something if I can avoid it. And even though I love supporting our kids to feel success in meal times and creating an environment that is just happy for everybody, there are some things that I'm just not gonna persevere through. And a flop dinner is one that that's where I draw the line. Those are the ways that I'm supporting 3 different age groups in successfully having a fun and enjoyable dinner time. They are all wired differently and their strategies cater to their needs and where they're at. I hope this has given you some inspiration if you are looking for some ways that you can support your child to get through dinner. If it has, please give this video a big thumbs up because it really does support my channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe and tap that bell so you get notified when we upload every Monday and Thursday, because this parenting gig doesn't come with a rule book, we only have each other. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.